We have arrived. This is Webb Parton, your host, and we welcome you to the Free Range Dogs podcast. This is a place where we stake out a shady spot and talk about all things dog. Find yourself a soft piece of grass, spin a few circles, plop down, rest your feet, and join us in this joyful conversation. Greetings, everyone. This is Webb Parton here with another episode of Free Range Dogs. It's where we explore the wonderful world of all things dog. Our guest today is Mike Mary of Parachute, Colorado. Mike is a friend of many years, and he has one of the classic all-time bird hunting stories. And I just wanted to share it with our listeners because it is a fascinating tale. Mike, introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Mike Mary. I've known Webb for quite a while. He's helped me out with my dogs quite a bit, and I appreciate that.
Uh-huh. And you had one of your dogs was named Gizmo, correct? And that was for that character. What was the name of that movie? Gremlins? Was that it? Where if you got water on it, it turned into a gremlin, something like that. But Gizmo was kind of true to his name. He was an adventurer, and he was a smaller Brit. And you had come back and you'd been hunting, and you told me this story. I thought, oh, geez Louise. And you were referring to an area just north of Oracle. There is a pipeline access road, and it runs on a straight line and goes out across the flats. And from that pipeline road, you're on an elevated bench coming down. There's these ridges that go out. And you're at the top, and you're looking out, and that ridge, multiple ridges, maybe 10 ridges that just soft. They start kind of high, but everything is blunted and smooth. It's not rim-rocked in any way. It's just relatively soft walking. But there are big washes in between, and the washes are kind of choked with mesquite and such. And, back when we had birds in Willow Springs, that was really a good bird area. And even back then, and this would have been early 90s, I'm referring to, there was scalies there. There was a lot of Gambel's quail, and you could start at the top of that ridge and just walk down, and it was a good high elevation perch to walk on because it was soft enough, that roll, that you could walk comfortably, and it rolled just down into this, fairly wide sand wash on each side that had a little upland against it, and then it dropped in, and then the line of mesquite trees, and then sand running, down the bottom. And mid-morning, the quail would be up in the uplands when they come off the roost at light, and they'd feed a bit, and then they'd kind of drift back into that mesquite line along that wash, and that's sort of where they hung. That's where they loafed during the day, and ultimately that's where they'd go to roost, in the evening. And so you told me that story, and I was familiar with it because I'd hunted that area a lot, and I'd seen pigs in that area. But I should let you tell the story because you were the guy that was there and watched it happen. So go ahead and give us a breakdown of how that day went for you.
Well, it was a nice morning to hunt, a little bit cooler, and Giz was still on a check cord. She was a fairly young pup, a bigger dog, but still young. And I had walked down that ridge for, 100 yards or so, and kind of thought I could hear a bird cackle in the distance. So the dog and I, we started drifting down a little closer to the sand wash, and she was out in front of me. She was doing her thing. She was quartering like she should, and everything was going great. And we just continued on, and it didn't take very long, and all of a sudden I could see the dog. She was an orange and white dog, and I was just high enough in the brush that I could kind of see over it and through it, but I couldn't really see the ground, but I could tell she took off running. and I had a whistle and whatnot, and I called her. I blew the whistle for her to come back, and obviously nothing was happening, and I could see glimpses of her going away. And she wasn't barking or anything like that. She was just running, and I thought that darn dog had just started hunting on her own.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked up my pace, and I kind of tried to stay with her where I could see her, and kept yelling and blowing the whistle. And then she disappeared, and I kind of stopped and was looking around, trying to see the white and orange through the brush coming back. And it took a few minutes, I'd say, 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then here come the dog. I could see her coming with the orange through the brush. And then as she got closer, it dawned on me there were some javelina behind her. And I thought, son of a gun. And she brought them back. She retrieved them right back to me. And she come up, run up right to my heel and stopped, sat down, and was, hot from running and looking up at me like, look at what I did, And about that time, the pigs kind of caught up to her and me, and she was standing there, and then I had reached down and gathered up her cord, her check cord, and gathered it in my hands, and I had my shotgun and nylon cord around the pistol grip on my over and under, and I'm thinking, well, I don't want to shoot these pigs. I have to shoot one, and I don't want them to come get the dog.
Yeah.
She was obviously what they were chasing. They were trying to run her back to where she belonged.
Yeah. Were they all bristled up and chomping and huffing at you?
Oh yeah, and when they get mad, the hair on their backs, it stands up, and they look twice as big as they are, and they were snapping their jaws and just carrying on, but they were probably 20 yards away, and there were maybe, I don't know, 6 of them, somewhere like that, 5 or 6.
Probably all the males in the group.
And I was just kind of standing there and hoping they would, see us and go away, and we would all be okay. But that wasn't what they had on their mind. All of a sudden, here come the whole herd of them running at us, and I threw up my arms and stomped my feet and waved my hands, and they veered off, and they went another 15, 20 yards back into the brush, and you could see them milling around in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, boy, I hope we get out of this without me getting hurt or the dogs getting hurt.
Yeah. And
the son of a guns, here they come again. And this time they got a little braver each time they charged. And I'm doing the same stuff and waving my arms in the air and stomping and carrying on. And they made about, I don't know, 3 or 4 kind of false charges like that. And then they would gather back up in the bunch when they would run back into the brush, and it was like they were getting their heads together and plotting against me, and they were saying, "Let's go get him," And all of a sudden, here they come, and this time they weren't just running by me,
Mm-hmm.
They actually run right up to me, and I'm still waving my arms and yelling and hollering at them, and they got close enough where I could kick one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of rattled another one. There was probably maybe 3 that were the instigators of it all, but they would come in and just chomping right at your feet, and you could kick them, and the dog was growling and barking and carrying on. And they'd run away, they go back in the brush and have a little powwow again and come back. And after they started charging, I tried to back out on them, I didn't want to just turn and run because I figured they would probably really chase me then.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they came up and one of them just got right at my feet, my legs, and the dog, and there were 2 or 3 of them, and you didn't know which way to turn or where to go, but I started kicking pigs, and I didn't have enough weapons in my hand. I had the gun, but I didn't want to have to shoot one to kill it. But as they got trying to climb up my leg, why I ended up swinging my shotgun like a club, and I hit them across the nose and up alongside the head. I was squeezing so hard on the pistol grip that the gun went off there once when it was aimed at the ground, and that scared them, and they ran away. And there's just no getting away from them, and they would just keep going and go back in the bushes and change their plan and make another attack route, and here they'd come, And I bent the top barrel on my over and under, and I jammed the trigger where I couldn't get the gun open to make it work again. But the cotton picking pigs, they were pretty tenacious, and they just did not want to give up.
And so you lost the ability to use your gun as a weapon because it didn't work as a gun anymore, only as a club.
That's correct.
Yeah. Oh boy. That had to be a bad feeling when you realized that the trigger was bent and you couldn't shoot it anymore.
Yeah. And here I had, there's probably 40 feet of check cord wrapped around my legs, and I'm thinking, man, I don't want to trip and fall and get down and have them pigs be on top of me when I'm on my hands and knees, and luckily that never happened. And when I pulled the trigger and the gun fired the one shell, the pigs they didn't take off. They went back to their little regathering and change of plan bushes that they were in, and I turned around and walked real fast to get away from them.
Yeah.
And, looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And here those son of a guns come again. I had, 15 or 20 yards up the hill from where I was, but they ran up to where I was, and they were looking around, and the dog and I, we just stood real still and real quiet, and they just kind of milled around there, and they kind of walked off. But when they did, that time I had gotten untangled from the rope and got the dog back at a reasonable length on the check cord, and I just took off running like crazy as hard as I could go up the hill for probably, 50 yards or so, and turned around and stopped. And you could see them down there. They were still trying to figure out where we'd gone, and it was sure a sigh of relief that they did not follow us up the hill. But it was a scary situation, knowing, it wouldn't take. They got tusk just like a regular pig, it wouldn't take a bite or two on the side or belly of the dog and then rip him wide open and do the same on your legs if they ever got a hold of you,
Yeah.
But it was a scary situation, and it happened so quick. I bet it was 15 minutes that they were, attack, retreat, attack, and they must have did that, 8 or 10 times. And every time I would, kick and yell and do everything I could to keep from shooting them, to make them, go away.
Yeah.
But it's sure, you don't really think about your your check cord hanging up or a brush, usually it just slides right through, but man, oh man, that would have been a bad deal if they would have caught the dog, before the dog made it back to me. So
yeah. What did Giz do when she was at your feet? Did she literally hang right with you? Was she growling and snapping and figuring, okay, Dad, whoop him, Dad, or was she coming for you to pick her up?
No, she was helping with the foray. She was a growling and barking, and that had to make the pigs.
Oh yeah,
more activated too.
Yeah,
but I had her when I had grabbed her leash and pulled her up close. I didn't take time to coil the coils up. I just grabbed handfuls of rope, and she was on a real short leash, and then me swinging my arms and the shotgun, using it as a club. I had worn a dent in the finish on the stock at the pistol grip where I was hanging onto her, and it never dawned on me. I had her. She probably looked like a yo-yo when I was swinging at the pit, yanking her this way and that.
Yeah.
But it was a crazy thing. But we got away from them and made it up on top of the ridge, and we hightailed it out.
Yeah.
Nothing ever serious become of it, and the pigs went about their merry way, and so did I.
She had probably gone in. They must have had young in their group, and she had probably got close to a youngster. There were
different sizes there.
Yeah. Was only 6, had to be more than 6 pigs in the group. There were probably others down in the wash bottom. Fair assumption?
I'm sure there was more than that with them, but
yeah.
They're usually running bigger bunches.
Yeah.
But that was only
20.
And 30. It was pretty big pigs that were up there by me. It wasn't a little bitty baby.
Yeah, and I know that because I've had them come in on me. I remember once, this was years ago, we had moved to Sedona when we first came to Arizona, and I was driving a wildlife tour, a Jeep tour in Sedona, where I'd take folks out, and actually this was probably an ancient ruins tour. So I was taking them out, Boynton Canyon, out this ancient ruins thing, the guy that owned the company had some permit arrangement with Forest Service that he could take people through this cliff dwelling. So we are going out, and I had a family with me. It was mom and dad and daughter and son. Daughter was maybe 13. Son was maybe 11. And there's a long stretch of road. You get on these, you leave Sedona, you get on these dirt roads, and you go way back, and then as you're going up into the Canyonlands, there's this long stretch of dirt road. And we're coming over a hill, and we top out, and I look down, and all the way down where this road kind of bottoms out, I see a line of pigs going across. And as we come down that hill, we get closer, and another pig, and another pig, and another pig. And then they kind of trickle out and dry up. And I pulled in, and I got to right where they had crossed. And I turned to mom and dad, and I said, you guys want to see some javelina? And and I'm sure they thought that it was some sort of a staged kind of canned sort of deal, but it wasn't. Mm-hmm. We just were right place, right time. And it was all, yellowgrass and short junipers, cedars. So it was kind of tight country, and you were moving through grass, and the cedars kind of blocked your distance. So you could see 30, 40 yards, maybe at best, before a tree blocked your distance vision. But you could look out, and you could see the skyline around you, and the red rocks and all that. It's a pretty place. So, they go, yeah. And you see the 2 kids light up, and, turn the Jeep off, and we walk out. I say, you stay right behind me and walk slow, and so I went in on these pigs, and I had the 2 youngsters behind me, maybe 10 yards. And then mom and dad are sort of walking behind, sort of keeping up. They're 20 yards back, 30 yards back, following us. And I go in slow, and I'm trying to be quiet. I'm looking to spot a pig. And they hadn't gone far, and they were kind of milling back in these cedars and open ground, yellow grass. So you could see about 2/3 of the pig. The grass was high enough it obscured the bottom of them. And probably didn't help them much either because they couldn't see that grass at us. So we get to the edge of this tree line, and I get down low, and I bring the kids in with me, and I tell them, I motion for them, be very quiet, and so I start woofing them, and what happens to our listeners, these pigs communicate with each other, and they're always touching each other with sound, so they'll be close when you stalk into a herd of pigs and you're laying in them or sitting in them waiting for one to move. If you're bow hunting or whatever, you're waiting for a shot. They have this very soft kind of sound. It sounds like this. And they're just checking back and forth, and they're saying, "I'm over here. Where are you?" And then "I'm over here. Where are you?" And so they can be over probably a 20-yard circle, and they can be tearing up their cactus and eating tubers or whatever they're doing, and they still have sort of an idea where each other's at. And then they use scent. They have a musk gland right at the base of their tail where you'll often see them interacting when you're glassing herds and watching them. They'll come side by side, nose to tail, tail to nose, and literally go side by side, and they'll sort of tuck their head, and they'll rub that musk gland of the other pig on them and vice versa. Again, it's probably an olfactory way of tracking each other, keeping track, So I went in and I woofed these pigs and got sound back. And so I accelerated a little bit because what you can do is you can use that sound to kind of get them agitated. It's a warning, or it can be. If it's soft, it's just them communicating with each other. But if you, and they think, "Oh, danger," and they go into that mode, and their first instinct is for the young and the females to move forward, to move away from where the warning sounds are coming from, and for the males to swing around and come backwards, and they form like a barrier, a line. And you can do that, and sometimes they'll literally charge in looking to see, what is someone in trouble? Has a coyote got a hold of a youngster? What's happening? And so I woofed them. There were 2 or 3 males in this group, and they fall back. And there's one, big male javelina, and he comes forward, and he's all bristled up. And when they bristle up like that, they sway, and they sort of prance, and as they come forward, and their hair is very stiff, and it makes a sound. It's as it's thrown back and forth, and it's hitting each other. Their hairs are hitting each other. And this pig comes in, and man, he put on a show, and he was all swelled up, and he was flashing back and forth, and his mouth open, he was clacking his teeth, clack, 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 mouth wide open, these long canines, right? Yeah. And I'm watching. Of course, I don't have a sidearm or anything. I'm thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't have done this. But he got to within 10 yards, maybe. And I don't know that he ever really saw us. He got to that clearing where the sound had come from, and he's looking to see what's up, what's happened here, who's in trouble, And I just went quiet, and I told them to stay down. And I look at these 2 kids, and their eyes are like saucers. Oh. They're like, "Oh my God." And mom and dad are standing back, on the other side of a juniper watching this whole thing. And I'm sure they thought it was some sort of canned, pet pig or something. I don't know. But, boy, it was a show. And of course, I didn't engage. I didn't make any more sound. He kind of surveyed. He hung for maybe 3 minutes, long time, 3 minutes. And then he sort of backed up, still kind of agitated, but got less and less. And then he drifted off, and he followed the others that had already left. And they can look impressive. They really can.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Giz survived the encounter. And she went on to become a bird dog. And how long was Giz with you? When did you lose her? She had a long life, I'm presuming?
Yeah, fairly long.
Yeah.
She got hit by a car, but
that probably,
I think she was
probably wouldn't stop her.
8 or 9, you know.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was working in Nevada, Ely, Nevada.
I know Ely, yeah.
And there are chuckers out there, and she fell in love with the chuckers.
Mm-hmm.
And she liked those birds, and they're neat and fun to hunt, with the exception that the cotton picking birds, they run uphill faster than you can, and they fly downhill or across the canyon.
Yeah,
they can be frustrating, but they're when the dog's working and they're doing everything right, boy, they're neat to hunt.
Yeah,
with the chuckers, you know.
And they're big too. I mean, they're big for a meaty. Yeah, they're, you know, you shoot a quail or a dove, and it's like, oh, I might need a couple, 3 more of these. You shoot a chucker, you got a meal. You know, enough for at least 1 or 2 people.
Yeah. She loved those mountains.
Yeah, those are kind of soft, grassy, steep slope, but and with rim rocks here and there. But you can walk all of that stuff, or most of it, if you're hard to get out. Yeah.
But I brought her back to Arizona, I don't know, several times, and you know, she still hunt the gambles okay. I mean, you know, different bird and too many cactuses, but different bird for her, you know.
Right. And did she ever have any more encounters with javelina, or did she learn a lesson?
Well, she got put back on the choke cord for some training lessons, you know. When you get to the end of the choke cord, something has to happen, you know, and you can't just, as a pup, they're going to run, and if they can get away with you, from you, and they know they are, they'll do it again. I'm sure you do that, but we had to go back to some choke cord lessons and
back to the basics.
And she got where she'd mind real good, and you could, you know, that Nevada country, I mean, it's big and wide open, and you can see and go for miles.
Yeah.
And she got where she, you know, you could just whistle her back or call her back, and she'd come back close and start quartering again, you know. But sure love those bird dogs.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I dearly appreciate you relaying that story to us again, because I could, having been there and having walked that ground and hunted, I could see it happen. And I, whenever I hunted those few ridges going down, boy, from that point on, I was watching. Yeah.
You just never know, you know. I mean, you take everything for granted. We're people, and everything runs from people, you know. And but it doesn't that way all the time, you know.
Yeah. When we first moved into this place, and bear in mind this house, we moved here in 90, and this house was old then. And they had a grove of peach trees, like 3 peach trees right on the side of the dog yard. And peaches would come and they'd fall on the ground. We'd pick what we could, but there were so many of them that it became a popular feed spot for the javelina. And they'd come in, and typically right after dark, they'd show up. And our dogs would be on one side of the chain link, and they'd be on the other side. And just belligerent. I mean, they would spit and snarl and growl and chomp their teeth and just chow down on whatever peaches were laying on the ground, you know. And they'd clean the whole area up and then disappear and come back the next night. And I'd sit with the dogs on the other side of that wire and just watch the show. I mean, they're interesting characters, Javelina. Interesting characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got a show. Mike, I want to thank you for your time and visiting with us, and say goodbye to our listeners out there. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your support. If you ever mind, we would sure love you to hit that subscribe button. It does help us an awful lot. And also check our website. We've got a lot of information on the website, training stuff. We have, aversion training stuff, that sort of thing. So, just be aware that, I'll help you if I can. Let me know how I can do that. I'm just a phone call away or, digital communication. So, thank you for support and, wishing you a great day. Take care. If you like this episode, I invite you to visit our website, freerangedogs.com. It's where you can find the stuff you need to live the free-range dog lifestyle. I want to help you with that. Book a consultation call or an in-person training, attend one of our ongoing events, or join our online membership program. We got it all on freerangedogs.com. All right, it's time to head back to the truck and the water bucket for the thirsty dogs. This is Webb Parton signing off, wishing you the boundless joy that comes when you share the outdoors with your best friend.